Welcome to Bible Journaling 66. Please like and subscribe to help us with our YouTube algorithm so more people will see this. And ring that bell if you want to be notified when we upload a new one. In this series, we're going to try to answer the question, are all Bible translations the same? There are many Bible translations today which make it easy to read and understand, but they come at a price. By changing the words, and even in some cases leaving out words that were in the original text, it can change the intended meaning. In some cases, entire verses have been left out. In this series, we will look at some of these, and you can decide for yourself. We will be comparing some modern versions to the authorized King James Version, which has been a standard for over 200 years. My last count of different versions of the Bible was about 41 different versions. Most of them change every couple years, so it's impossible to know what your copy says. So I will be posting verses that are in the King James text, and then you can turn to that verse in your favorite Bible and see how it compares. I will be comparing a couple of the more popular verses with the most blatant errors for your amusement. So let's begin by looking at Matthew 17. Jesus was on the mount with Peter, James, and John, and they watched as Jesus was transfigured and joined by Moses and Elijah. Now, when they come back down from the mountain, the other disciples are trying to cast out a demon, but are unsuccessful. Then they ask him why they weren't able to cast the demon out. His answer was in verse 20, and Jesus said unto them, because of your unbelief. And verily I say unto you, if you have faith as a grain of mustard seed, ye shall say unto this mountain, remove hence to go yonder place. And it shall remove, and nothing shall be impossible unto you. And then he adds, howbeit, this kind goeth not out, but by prayer and fasting. Now, let's look at the NLT, and we find verse 21 is missing. The asterisk in the bracket replaces it. And you look that up in your version, and it will say some manuscripts add verse 21. The RSV, Revised Standard Version, doesn't even give a note. It just leaves it out. Now let's turn to Matthew chapter 18. Jesus was speaking of childlike faith, then warns them of sin and of hell. And then he warns them not to mistreat children. And he adds, verse 11, for the Son of Man is come to save that which was lost. The NIV replaces verse 11 with a note. It reads, some manuscripts include here the words of Luke 19:10. The RSV, well, it just skips the verse entirely and leaves no note whatsoever. Let's look at Matthew 21. Jesus had just finished telling the parable of the householder, and then warns the listeners that God will take from them the kingdom and give it to another. Then he says in verse 44, "And whosoever shall fall on this stone shall be broken, but on whomsoever it shall fall, it will grind him to powder." Well, this verse is missing from the following versions. The NIV gives this note: some manuscripts do not have verse 44. So lastly, let's look at chapter 23 of Matthew. Christ warns the people to follow good teaching and not evil examples of the scribes and Pharisees. And then in verses 13 through 29, he proclaims 8 woes unto the hypocrisy of the scribes and Pharisees. But some modern versions leave out verse 14, which reads, "Woe unto you, scribes and Pharisees, hypocrites, for ye devour widows' houses, and for a pretense make long prayer. Therefore ye shall receive the greater damnation." I hope this was an eye-opener. Continue to follow along with this series and open your favorite Bible and see what it says. Thank you for watching, and contact us on Facebook, Bible Journaling 66, or by email, BibleJournaling66 on gmail.com. Thanks again, and Maranatha.